What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I wanted to drop a quick market update as Bitcoin has gotten a pullback from our key target at about $102,000 that we were looking at yesterday on the live stream. And we were looking at this as kind of a final boss level of resistance that Bitcoin needed to get above. It was actually a zone of resistance, being a Fibonacci Golden Pocket 786 retracement. And as we were looking at that level, we know that if we are going to continue a bigger move to the downside, we knew that that lower high was likely to come in at this zone. And we are now seeing a pretty big pullback from this level. So I wanted to drop this quick market update for you guys, let you know the key levels that I'm looking at and how I am handling this price action. Are we about to see that bigger drop to the downside, or is this a small pullback before continuing up to our next bullish target sitting in the $104,000 range? I want to break down all the levels for you guys. I will show you the bullish case and the bearish case and let you guys know the scenario that I'm actually playing and how I'm actually trading this price action. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts and break down the saucy key levels for the Mafia. Let's get into it. So guys, here we are on the Bitcoin chart. Now I'm going to start over here on the daily and talk about the key level that we've come up to, which was about $102,000. Now this was the target we were looking at on Friday as we were bing-bonging around at about $98,000. We were looking for a move into that $102,000 target for Bitcoin based off of our major Fibonacci retracement pulled from the top of the bull market here all the way to our current low. This gave us that golden pocket 786 retracement. Now this level did not only help us find that key target on Friday, expecting Bitcoin to run up into $102,000. We also knew this was going to be a key level of resistance, and if this larger downtrend was going to continue, we know that that lower high is very likely to come in either at that golden pocket or that 786 retracement. Target number one was 102K, and then that second bullish target was sitting up here closer to about $104,500. And we just know in the grand scheme of a macro trend, we're going to have a high, a low, and then eventually we're going to come in and put in a lower high if that trend were to continue to break structure to the downside. And we simply know that these golden pocket 786 retracements are typically the zones where we see this stuff occur at. And as we push into that golden pocket, you guys will know last night, there was not really any bearish confirmation, at least at that time on the chart. We were pushing into that key level of resistance, but we had no bearish divergences. And this is kind of where we were talking about what I like to see in order to look for these shorts after big moves to the upside. Now, right after my live stream at about 7:30, literally the minute after I get off my live stream and walk away from my desk for the first time during the day, we finally get that bearish confirmation that we were looking at on the live stream, which was simply looking for price to kind of consolidate around here. We don't just randomly try to short the tops here. We have to see some kind of entry trigger. And just to drop a little sauce for the Mafia here on YouTube, what I personally like to see and what we were looking at on the live stream last night was we like to see that move up, and then we'd like to see a little bit of consolidation, creating somewhat of a mini range. And this is where I like to look for those short positions at. And more specifically, what we would like to see is bearish divergences on the lower time frames, which we actually did wind up getting here on the 24-minute as well as the 15-minute time frame. We come up here, we start to consolidate. We now have this beautiful context of a little mini volume profile that we've created up here. And what happens? This is able to give you the context that you need to understand where you're looking for shorts, at least on the lower time frames. And you can see here, we did wind up getting the higher highs on our price action with the lower highs on our momentum waves here on the 15-minute time frame. And to add a little bit more sauce to that setup here, we actually did wind up getting that second confirmation that I love to see, which is a swing failure pattern of the range high here. And you can see we come up to that value area high, we deviate above, we swing fail that wick right here. We close those candles below before getting that next drop to the downside. And that was the key zone of resistance we were looking at in the premium between about 102,320 and 104,946. We don't know if that lower high is going to reject at the golden pocket or the 786, which is why we look at this as a short zone. And then wherever those confirmations come in, that's where we wind up pulling the trigger. And in this specific scenario, this was what we were looking for, bearish divergences with the SFP of the high. And as you can see, we come up, we sweep those highs, and then get a massive drop to the downside here. And now we are tapping some very key levels of support, guys. Now, unfortunately, I did not take this short position because I literally got up from my charts at about 7:10, and this wick wound up coming up at about 7:30 p.m. last night. So I did not catch this trade myself, although we were looking for bearish confirmations at this level. However, you can't catch them all, guys, and I'm not too worried, honestly, because I am still holding my short from 106K. So if this does wind up dropping to the downside massively, I am still short from basically the top here at about $106,000. But I just wanted to talk about that because we did look at this on the live stream, and I just want to show you guys that when we pull up these key levels of resistance, especially a final boss level like this is really a key level you want to watch, and we are getting that drop to the downside. Now, Bitcoin is testing some key levels of support right now, so I want to bring those up. And just to pull up our major volume profile that we've been looking at here, guys, I do just also want to point out the reliability of these profiles are absolutely insane, because you can see here, as we were getting this push up into 102K yesterday, it was obviously into that $102,000 major target that we had on the chart. And at this point, Bitcoin is simply deviating above its value area high, which is often where we're looking for shorts, as we see this as an overvalued asset. And then once you wind up losing this value area high, this is where you wind up expecting price to drop down to the next key volume profile level, which put it in the comments if you know what that key level is. But you guys know, once you get below that value area high and you get accepted into the range and you can't get back above, that is where you're potentially going to anticipate that POC to be the next stop for price. And what happens? We get that quick drop down here into that point of control, where we also have our anchored VWAP. And this is going to be that key zone of support, or that first key zone of support that I'm looking at. Now, this is kind of a sticky situation, guys, because although if we hold this POC, we could see a strong pump, maybe back up to our bigger level at 104K. At this point, we are now technically just accepted back into our major range here, which does open up the door. If we lose this POC, it could open up the door to move back down towards that value area low. And I know this seems crazy. I'm not guaranteeing this happens, but as you guys know, as we're pumping above the value area, we're looking for shorts where everybody is very, very bullish. Although there was an opportunity to come up to the 786, and during the time of that live stream, there were no bearish confirmations here until about 7:30 when we got off the live stream. But once that bearish confirmation comes in, we say, hey, that might be a sign of weakness to get that rejection off of our key zone. And when we look at those Fibonacci retracements, we know that golden pocket is just as important as the 786. We just got to wait for that entry confirmation. So as we stick around in this volume profile, POC anchored VWAP sitting between about 97,700 and the POC coming in at about 97,348 is going to be your first key zone of support. Now, if we lose that, guys, there are some other specific key levels I'm looking at down below that would be where I'd expect price to go if that POC is lost as support. And in order to pull up these levels, there's two major things that I'm looking at. Number one is going to be the golden pocket retracement from the absolute low here all the way to the high that we made at about $102,777. And just like we look at that golden pocket as a key zone to put in a lower high, we can look at this golden pocket as a potential place to get some nice support to continue a bigger uptrend to higher prices. However, if we do get below that POC, this golden pocket is sitting at about $95,689, and then our 786 does come in a little closer to 93,735. Now, if we look at things in terms of our local profile, guys, again, this is just a game of volume profiles. Deviate from the high, that's where you're looking for shorts. To get back into the range, go to the POC. Once you lose the POC, we do have these local Fibonacci targets. However, if we lose that 786, we could potentially get that bigger drop down into our macro range low. However, I do want to update our local profile here, guys, so I'm going to come down to a lower time frame, and you can see here, as price has now entered back below this local value area high, we can potentially just look at this as an overall area of balance. So I am going to extend this volume profile all the way right before we got the impulse to the upside, as that is kind of where this area of balance ended. And I'm going to update this profile, bringing that value area low just a little bit lower. And it also does relocate our point of control all the way down here to about 95,652. Now, this is interesting to me because if we repull that same Fibonacci retracement that I just pulled before, you can see that golden pocket does come in nice confluence with that POC. And if we look at that 786, you can see it is also very confluent with our value area low. So when we look at things in terms of our local profile, after we update it to cover all of this balanced price action before that breakout, you can see in this context, we are kind of just getting accepted into this lower range. And if we wind up losing that major POC of the macro range and that anchored VWAP, I'm going to take that main range off the chart and then look at price action in the context of this profile, because if we lose that major POC anchored VWAP where we are right now, we could expect that bigger move down. And in the context here, this POC golden pocket is going to be an absolute key level of support. And if we break below this and go for that full 786 786 retracement, this will be at a very, very important value area low where we could potentially just see price start to continue to range around sideways here, and we can continue to use this range to catch the longs from the lows, just like we did back here. I am still holding a portion of this long position. I have taken profits, but we can use these key levels on the way back down. If things get super bearish and we get the bigger drop down to these levels, these are going to be the key zones that I will be looking for new long positions at. So those are the local levels that I'm going to be looking at, guys. But regardless of the volume profiles and that clean deviation into our key level of resistance, even if you're not paying attention to the volume profiles, guys, we know that that overall Fibonacci retracement is going to be that major level where we could look for those potential lower highs if we're going to see that bigger downtrend to lower prices and continue to come down here and break structure to lower prices. That golden pocket 786 was that key zone, and we just simply sit on our hands and wait for those bearish confirmations, which again, I missed by a few minutes here. But once you get those bearish confirmations, that's where we're looking for the short positions. And that's why in the premium, we look at these resistance levels as zones, because we don't know if that lower high is going to come in at that golden pocket or that 786. These are both valid levels for those larger lower highs to come in at. And just to take a look at market cipher B here, guys, I will say, is this likely to happen? I will just say this: on our daily time frame, we are looking to potentially print a red dot here somewhat soon. Technically, our money flow is trending to the downside. Now, this is a little bit hard in a bull market to gauge, as if we're going to hold some of these lower levels of support and continue up, this money flow is very, very probable to continue up into the green. But as of right now, from a binary perspective, this is trending to the downside. We also have our 12-hour red dot printing with our 45-minute money flow coming out pretty aggressively. So if we're going to get that bigger drop to the downside, I will be looking at that 45-minute money flow crossover with that 12-hour red dot for our market cipher B 116 strategy. And on top of that, if that daily red dot does eventually come in, I will be looking at that 90-minute money flow, which is also coming to the downside very aggressively. And I do think that the 45-minute and the 90-minute money flow may be that signal to look at before getting that bigger drop down to either those lower support levels around 95 to 93.7, or potentially losing those levels to come down to 90,500. So a little painful here that I got up as soon as those bearish confirmations popped up on this level. But as traders, guys, there is always going to be another setup, especially with the shorter term day trades. So I'm not tripping. I'm simply sitting on my hands. I'm still short from 106K, so I'm not totally out of the game if we continue down from here. But I just wanted to drop this update to let you guys know what we were kind of looking for at that golden pocket on the live stream last night did wind up setting up just at the worst time for me personally. So I'll be looking personally to see if I could get another short setup in here to hop in on a fresh position before continuing back down. But until then, we are at that key level of support right now. And if we continue down, you guys now have those other local levels I'm looking at before potentially getting that bigger drop down to about 90,500. With all that being said, that's all the time I got for today's quick market update. I just wanted to give you guys those key levels, show you that updated profile, and what I'll be expecting in that bearish case. Hopefully, we can hold these key levels that we're at right now. If not, we'll look down towards that golden pocket 786. And once we start losing that with those local value area levels, we can look down towards 90,500. So we'll see how things shake out here, guys. And I will see you on the live stream at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's all I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Frankie Candles out.
Here we go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up. Yeah, maxed out, put the